Well, it looks like we're right at 7 o'clock. So we'll go ahead and get started. If more people join on, feel free, the more the merrier. So you see the Q&A box at the bottom. If you want to ask a question, feel free to ask it through there. I'll be looking over this way sometimes, and that's just me looking at your questions. So I'm Emily Miller-Lair, and I am the academic and industry manager for Aspen Dental. And I have two wonderful former assistants, now both office managers, here to help answer questions. They've been with Aspen for a while, and I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about what they've done in their career. And then they can help you guys answer questions that you have, and literally ask anything you want. Nothing's off the table. These two and I were just talking, and we just want to give you open, honest answers. So feel free to ask anything you like. First, we've got Allie. Allie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're at? Oh, we lost your volume.
Hello.
Hey.
There you go. Okay. So hello, I'm in Tucson, Arizona. We have 3 offices in Tucson, and I'm at the Oracle location. And I have been in dental for 13 years now. It's like when I was putting this together, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Time flies when you're having fun. And I've been with Aspen Dental since 2014. I helped open the Oracle location, and I started out as the lead dental assistant there. And from there, journeyed to the front a little bit and did some front office work, and then been the office manager for about 3 years now. So
very cool, very cool. And Bree, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career, because you've done a lot with Aspen as well.
Yeah, so I started with Aspen back in 2012 as an extern. So right out of school, went to my externship with Aspen. They didn't have any openings right that minute, but I was in the mix. I was waiting. I knew I was going to get something. So like a couple months went by, and I got a float position as a dental assistant. So I went around to literally every office that was in Arizona at the time. I think then we only had like 7, maybe 8. Filling in, and that really helped because I was working with different doctors, so I was never scared to do anything anymore, and it got me a lot of experience. Different doctors do different things, use different materials, and then I went to open up the Surprise location in Arizona. I was the lead assistant there, and I had done front and back just like Allie, here and there, wherever I could help out. So then I went to being the lead oral surgery assistant, and I did that for about 2 years. So I assisted the oral surgeon, I did the scheduling, the ordering, all of that fun stuff. And I actually went backwards a little bit when I got out of oral surgery. One of the doctors had asked me to be his lead assistant. So then I went back into general practice, did that for another year. And then I wanted to move my career forward. So I decided to move to the front desk. So last year in about June, I think, I moved to be the assistant manager at our now Levine location that we opened up last year. And now almost a year in, I am the manager at the Levine location now. So lots of different avenues there.
I love that. I think that's one of the cool things when you talk about a career with Aspen is that there's multiple layers of interest. And if your interest changed, in a year, there's stuff, because it's a large organization, and when you work with a large group, there's a lot of opportunities. So very cool. So I wanted to start off and ask, so Allie, what made you, because you were with general practice before, which I think you had a great experience at, but what made you choose Aspen Dental?
I was in a place where I was doing lead assistant, and I was actually dabbling into oral surgery assistant as well. And I was just in a place where I felt stagnant in a way, and I didn't know much about Aspen, but I did research, and I saw that there was opportunity. And so I really didn't know exactly what I was getting into at the time. But I joined the practice, and what was awesome about it was that I felt like I was always hesitant to be a part of a big organization. I'd always been in private practice, like you had said. And my hesitation was that I would get lost in the mix, right? Like that you would just be a number, or I didn't feel that. I felt very connected. We were a family. We opened the office together. I just got to see people grow with the organization. And at first it was more just about opportunity and the hours and the benefits and things like that. But then the more I was with the organization, the more I realized that this was not just a job. This was like a career, and that there was opportunity if you show drive and ambition and interest to go further with the organization. And so really there's no limit. Like you said, there's no cap. You can wear many hats with Aspen and try different roads, avenues, paths, and just grow with the company. And not just myself, I've seen so many people that I've started with that have grown with the company as well. And I mean, if you're looking to get your feet wet and get in the door and get dental, Aspen's the place to be. You're definitely going to get the experience, and they're going to give you the tools to grow as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. And Bree, I know you took, are you frozen on me? I think she may be frozen at the moment. We'll give her a second to de-thaw, and then I'll ask her that too. You kind of alluded to a few things there about with opportunities and technology. Can you talk to us, like, as far as DA is concerned, what kind of technologies that we have that may be unique to general practices, even though some may have them as well?
Sure. Aspen is really, really big on, looking at the whole mouth. That was another thing that was different from coming from private practice, where we're not just looking at an area that's bothering you, taking care of it. We're looking at everything as a whole. So we'll do the full FMX, which most practices do, but and then we do the full Panorex, which is, pretty standard as well. I know some of the Aspens offer like, the 3D scans, as well as, for like oral surgery or endo or more advanced implants and such. But we also, what's big with Aspen is the iTero scan. So we do use that for multiple purposes. So that function is used for restorative, so scanning for, crowns, partials. We also use it for a diagnostic tool, so patients can kind of see through the doctor's lens, which is really, really cool. They can see what we're trying to explain in an x-ray. There's no doubt about it. And they can see their gum health and all of that. And so that's really neat. And we use it also for Invisalign. So multiple functions with that. Some offices, still use the intraoral cameras and such. Aspen's just, cutting edge. We're always trying to keep up with all the best technology and educating our patients so we can help them get the care they need. And we're just always looking for the next thing and the next thing. You're never going to be in a position where patients are always excited to be like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this before. They're really impressed with all the technology that we have within the office and the training that comes with that for our team members as well.
Yeah, the training is another thing. I know for me, when I started, I wasn't anticipating the level of training that you get, especially when you're talking about being newer or newer to the field. What does the training process look like for your DAs? Like what does a, externship maybe look like? And, what can they expect to learn if they're chosen to be an extern, or if they apply to be an extern?
Absolutely. So first week, first couple days, depending on the individual, we really just want to have you oversee the patient's experience and the flow of the office. From there, we really want you to get in there. We want you to be hands-on. Obviously, we want to make sure the patient's comfortable, but the doctors want you to get in there. They want to get you involved, get you that experience. You're not just going to be sterilizing instruments. You're going to be hands-on. You're going to be involved, because the idea is, treat it like a job interview. There's so many opportunities with Aspen. And if you get in there and you show that drive and ambition, there is most likely a position, maybe like Bree said, not right away, but you know, if you shine, there's so many avenues. So I always say when I'm interviewing you know, for an externship, I say, hey, treat it like a job interview, shine, get in there, show as much as possible. The doctors like when you come at the end of the day and you're like, hey, how did I do today? You know, what could I have done differently? It's great to get that feedback and show that you want this just as much. I know with Aspen in our office, we have like a template, a checklist, not only from just like Carrington would have for you, but you know, just to check in and see how you're doing and are you hitting all of these things? Do you feel like there's things that you missed? So I guess the point is that we're not going to leave you just, you know, high and dry. We're going to be a part of that process for you. And hopefully that this is something, you know, that we can help, you know, show that, you know, this is something that you want. We want to help you get there.
I like that. So I saw some advice there. You're saying, treat it like an interview, make sure that you ask for feedback. And I would say like, and I think you alluded to this, you don't have to be perfect. We're not expecting that. We're just expecting someone who has like that can-do attitude and is willing to learn, right?
Yeah, take the positive criticism because that's just what it is. They're trying to give you feedback to show you how to be, you know, the best that you can be, you know, and I've had externs that took that feedback in a negative way and it didn't work out for them. And then I've had externs that are like, oh, thank you for sharing that with me. And then the next week I saw 180 and we're like, oh my gosh, we're going to hire you because we know that you want this and that we can work with you and form you to be part of our Aspen crew, you know? So
yeah, we're really like you're saying, a feedback organization. So it's never negative. It's always to help you grow, which is really cool, especially if you're a new graduate, because well, at any time we're wanting to grow, but it's a really unique opportunity because you'll actually get feedback. It's not like you said, we're not locking you in the back and saying sterilize some instruments, see you later.
Definitely not. No.
You're going to get real experience. And Bree, I know we were talking a little about externships. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. We're talking a little bit about, welcome back.
All right.
About, externships. And I wanted to hear from you because you said you started Aspen from your extern. So what made you choose that path, or, you know, was it just coincidence? And how did you see that path at that time?
So I initially, when I got out of school, I thought I wanted to do pediatrics, and I did a couple of working interviews and I was like, this is not for me. But I remember that when I did have my extern with Aspen, there's so many, I think my first day was an oral surgery day. So it was just like jam packed with people and I was nervous and I literally thought I was going to throw up before I got there. But it just, everybody was so nice. And there was actually another extern there already that was finishing up. So I kind of got to watch how she did things, you know, sterilize for a little bit. And then I got to get into it. And it was just something different. And it was all kinds of things. You didn't just get stuck doing, you know, stainless steel crowns and amalgam fillings with kids. And you got to do endo, you got to do crown and bridge, you got to do oral surgery. And you know, then I got a lot of experience with dentures, and that's something I didn't get in school. So that was super new to me. And once I just kind of got into the groove of things and learned, you know, meeting the regionals at the time and knowing so much opportunity, whether it was to be just a regular general assistant or oral surgery or be even a lab tech. I mean, because there's assistants that we have that go into the lab too. Mm-hmm. Just seeing the wide range of variety, that's what made me stick. And in my 8 years, I've done several different things. You don't have to just stick to one tunnel. It's not, Aspen doesn't have tunnel vision. If you want to do something else, you just have to speak up and say it. And that is the best thing I think about Aspen, like you said, is you have so many areas of opportunity and different avenues to go through. It's not just the practice, it's everything behind the scenes too. So for me, that's what stuck with it. And I had so many different areas to work in. That you just become a well-rounded employee and assistant and a manager.
I love that. That's just really good advice. And I like how you said you initially went in thinking you were a peds person. Sure. So it's worth it to take that time to explore maybe things you don't even know about. You know, maybe somebody thinks they're an oral surgery person and they're a peds person, or, you know, sometimes you get in there and it's a little different than how you pictured it, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And your office got, correct me if I'm wrong, you've got the 3D scanning for implants, right?
Yes, we do. Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about that technology, because that's a pretty exciting one, and most of our Aspens are getting those, right?
Yes. So I believe we were one of the first to have it. It's super nice for not only oral surgery with implants, but endo uses a lot too. Because you can actually see the canals. There's no missing a canal. And having the patient come back in, you know, 6 months and say, well, this tooth is still hurting. It shouldn't be hurting. I had a root canal. So even our endodontists use it. It's just a great diagnostic tool internally to give us, I mean, we have our iTero scanner, which is, you know, the 3D scan of the mouth, but this is inside. So it's just another tool for us to be able to diagnose with, and to get a more accurate placement for implants, and making sure with endodontics that we're getting everything we need to. And we can share it with patients and other doctors. And so it's fantastic. I would say that Aspen is definitely leading in the technology world. I know that, you know, we don't do CEREC crowns, but we do everything else. And our crowns, you know, even with the scanner, we're getting them back in, you know, 5-6 days, and they fit like a glove. So, I mean, even though we're not doing those in-house, we do everything else. I mean, even like when we first started, Allie, they were sending IVO-base, you know, we were sending dentures out for 2.5 weeks and getting them brown, like back like crowns. So it's definitely changed over the years. And I mean, it's definitely leading in technology. It's fantastic that we have these tools.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. It seems like that's always a big focus, technology, and how can we utilize that to best serve our patients. And we have a unique set of patients that might be different from other practices. Allie, can you talk to us a little bit about the type of patients that we see at Aspen and all the type of cases?
We see a variety of different types of patients, and you know, you really have to remember that they came here because they need something. And so a lot of them have barriers or challenges. Some of them don't have the money set aside for treatment. They're not prepared necessarily. And what Aspen does a really nice job of is listening and building those relationships with the patient, not treating them like a number, and trying to really figure out, how can we help you get the care that you need, and how can we do it efficiently at your pace? If it's money, if they're nervous, if they're scared, embarrassed, it doesn't matter. We're going to figure out a way to not judge you, just really open up our arms and bring you part of our Aspen family. And it's so amazing. Like I said before, those comprehensive care treatment plans, not looking at it just, you know, one issue at a time, really looking at the whole mouth. Those patients come back, they become part of our family, which then they share with other people. And we at Aspen call them yes stories, but it's just amazing how many lives we impact. You don't realize it. And you know, you get chills, or it just moving, you know, situations and stories every single day that impact people's lives. You know, some people who would probably have gone to other places and were turned away because they had those barriers. So I love what I do. I know Bree loves what she does. I can't say it enough. We are here to change lives and help people. So
yeah. And I love private practice. I would never say anything negative about it. I had a positive experience, but it's just mine was just very different. We would, you know, give somebody their treatment plan for whatever. And if they didn't have a way to cover it, it was just like, oh, see you later, where we offer them options, or we try to set it up in a way that they can do it, or we offer discounts. We just do different things to make sure that that patient gets taken care of. And, you know, I don't think my private practice was being bad. That's just how they ran. It was like, okay, you know, where's your card? Let's go. And sometimes people, it's a surprise and they're not ready for that. And so it's good to be a part of not turning people away and making sure that we find a way to get them back to health. So same question. What kind of patients, what kind of procedures could a DA expect to see at an Aspen Dental?
Pretty much anything from, a regular healthy mouth cleanings and SRP, scaling root cleanings. And then you have on the dentist side, we have fillings and crown and bridge. We do a lot of aesthetic cases. In my office, we do quite a bit more crown and bridge than we do dentures. But when we do dentures, it's kind of one or the other, whether we're doing just a flipper for a single tooth or we're doing an all in four. So you can really see anything, especially when the oral surgeon comes in. You have so many things going on there, but there's not anything Aspen won't do. I've never seen them turn away a case. We have a lot of resources to reach out to other practices. We get our POPs involved and see what we can do to get the patient what they want. There's no end to what you can see at Aspen. There's a lot of experience to get, to have. And I've seen it all, with oral surgery and having to place a drain and, things like that, to all in cases and hours upon hours of surgery. So it really, the sky's the limit. There's everything there. And that's what I like, because there's a variety. No day is the same as the next. So
yeah.
I would certainly say that you're not going to be bored. It's not a boring place to do dentistry. It's
never.
And that comes, we
Absolutely.
see patients, sometimes it's been, not every patient, but for many patients, they're high needs. They've been turned away before. They may not have been seen in years. So, we're seeing some cases, not every case, but some cases that are quite interesting and different than you might see in a practice that does maybe straight PPO insurances and only sees people that have been seen for years. So, yeah. And that's a question too. What type of insurances do we take? I'll let Allie get that one.
Sorry, cut out a little bit.
Oh, what types of insurances do we take?
Oh my gosh. A majority of all of them. What I generally tell people is it's like maybe just like the state funded plans, like Access here in Tucson, that we generally don't work with. But even then, we figure out ways, to help them get the care. Even if we don't take their insurance, we still try to work with them. So we do take, Medicare and the PPOs and DHMO plans. Just, we take all those plans. And again, like if I have patients calling me and they're like, okay, I have Access, so on and so forth, or they have a discount plan that maybe we don't take, it doesn't hurt to come in. There's no charge for that first visit. Come in, let's see what we can do for you. Let's figure out a plan. And if we have to maybe send them to another place to do extractions and be creative and then finish up the denture with us, we've done that as well to help patients get the care that they need.
Yeah, basically everything but the Medicaid, Medicare, I believe we take. And in Arizona, they don't cover a whole lot anyway. So we do offer a lot to still help them, because I think it's like one extraction a year or something. So
yes. And I stress that to them. I'm like, you're more than happy to go and see what you can get with that coverage. But remember, we're here for you. We want to see you. We can figure out a plan for you. And that's what it's about. We're never going to be like, oh, we don't take your insurance. Good luck. We're going to try to figure out a way to help them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes we even have a network where we try to lean them in the right way. Maybe if they need orthodontics that are beyond what we can do in-house, we'll refer them to someone that can take care of them. So, but you're right. We do a lot in-house because we break down the barriers. So our patients kind of need us there. So it's really great. What would you say, Bree, if you were a student, what would be the recommendation that you would have? I know you said try some things out, but take yourself back, reverse, think what you would be asking yourself if you were going into externships and what you would be looking for.
Oh, goodness. Oh, God.
You're like, whoa,
okay,
that takes me back. I'm just
I think for me at the time, it was like my first actual career. I'd had a few jobs here and there. And for me, it was really stability. It didn't matter for me where I was at or if I needed to travel. I really wanted a full-time position that I could get benefits with and start a career. I didn't want just a job. So for me, that was a big deal. I wanted to make sure that I had a place to go every single day. I could help out and get more education. I didn't have to just be a dental assistant. I was willing to, help in the front or answer phones. So for me, I really wanted stability. I wanted the benefits, which is, with Aspen, how you have your Medicare, dear Lord, your health insurance, you have your 401k. The benefits with Aspen are fantastic. And I was barely 21. I think I had just turned 21 when I started with Aspen. And I needed guidance too. And our HR department was like, listen, these are the different plans. They walked me through every little step with it. I felt so bad, the poor guy, but he was so helpful, and explained all that stuff to me. Cause instead of asking my parents, I was just like, well, this guy's here, so why not? And that's another great thing is like, we have those resources to reach out to. And so for me, it was stability and insurance. I wanted to get out on my own and just start my life really and move out of my parents' house and do that stuff. So I just wanted something that I could, be stable in and, help and get my life going. So that's what really got me into it, because it was full blown from the start. Even when you get hired as a float, it was just nonstop. I was working sometimes 6 days a week, which was great for me because I didn't mind. I didn't have anything else going on at the time. So it was just it was a great start to the rest of my life, honestly.
Yeah, I really like that. I didn't think about those things, but we do have HR, we do have, procurement, which helped us out a lot in COVID because they purchased a lot of the PPE we needed. We do have a lot of those resources that, nothing against a private practice. I wouldn't expect a group of, 10 people to be able to do this. When I was in private practice, there were like 8 of us. So I wouldn't really expect them to be able to have that, but it is a huge benefit, especially when you're figuring out like, what is a 401k? What is, what plan do I choose? Why does it matter?
Right.
You need that person.
What's an HSA? I had no idea at the time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. They're just things you wouldn't necessarily know because it's like you said, it's your first adult job, and it can be overwhelming if you don't have a lot of resources. That's a really good point.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite benefits, and then I want to ask Allie what hers, but one of mine is I love having my own PTO because I would always be promised PTO when I would go places. But the PTO was really when the whole office took a vacation. So if your friend got married in May, but the office takes a vacation in June, then you better find your replacement.
Then you're stuck.
It was hard to plan to be gone ever. So it's nice it's there for you. And that's really, really nice. And that's kind of the advantage of being able to draw people from other offices and get coverage and things like that. So Ellie, what's your favorite benefit?
Well, all the things you guys said were great and were reasons I was drawn to Aspen too. But other things was security. I'm not sure everybody's situations are different, but at the time, I was a young single mom and I worked for private offices and they didn't offer benefits or any of those things. And, I didn't necessarily get my hours in a private practice. I had to work at multiple different private offices, which kept my skills fresh and great. But it was exhausting, like going from different, private practices to just get my hours. Right. So what I loved about Aspen is they told me right away, nope, you're going to get your hours, and you do. But they also give you that work-life balance for sure. They want to make sure they take care of their people. But I knew at the end of the day that I was going to have a secure paycheck. I didn't have to take vacation when the doctor closed down the office. And I had that peace of mind in the back of my mind as a mom, that I could provide benefits for not just myself, but my family. So there was security there. I just felt very like I'd been searching and I found my place, that long as I showed drive and ambition with Aspen, and wanting to be a part of this Aspen family, that they were going to take care of me equally as well. And I had that. I never felt that where I was before, where I had that security or, being able to know what my pay was, sometimes it was like, okay, am I going to have 30 hours? Am I going to have, I had that security with Aspen.
That's huge. I like that too, because you both started at different points in your career or different points in your life, I guess. So it's neat to see that it worked out well for both differently, that's really cool. I have a question here. It says, and I know you guys know this, is there more than one office in Phoenix? Oh, yes.
800 offices.
How many offices are there in the areas like Mesa, Surprise, Phoenix, and Scottsdale? So I will let Bree get this one because she's in that area. And then I'll let you, Allie, talk about Tucson.
Yep.
So there are offices from Goodyear to Casa Grande to Mesa to Chandler. I know that we're getting into some other cities too. So I mean, you can literally work at any of them. We have such big staffs. We have the growing demand at each and every practice. And we're getting to where we can get 2 doctors in each practice and have 2 different staff so we can build the volume that the demand is asking for. So there are offices in Goodyear, Surprise, Levine, Phoenix, a couple in Phoenix. Just on Bell Road alone, we have 3 practices from Surprise to 7th Street and Bell. Then we have our Chandler office. We have 2 Mesa Riverview, Mesa Superstition locations. So there are plenty of options out here, as well as where Allie's at too.
Yeah. And you've got Metro and Arcadia. You're covered in Phoenix, but Allie, you cover Tucson.
Everywhere.
So tell us about the offices down there.
So we started with our first practice in 2014 in Tucson. We were the first one. About 3 years later, we opened Broadway and Wilmot. And then if you're familiar with the Tucson area, then we have South Tucson, so Irvington, I-19. And then just so you guys know, we're growing always. So we plan 2021 September sometime to open more north towards Oro Valley. And the point with this is that Aspen started very small and just grew in a short amount of time and is not going anywhere. That goes back to the security. Life changes, things happen. Yeah. That's another enticing thing. We have 800 offices and growing nationwide. So that's really enticing too, that if life changes and you end up having to move, you have that opportunity to possibly travel as well to a new location without having to up and change your, whole job altogether. So yeah.
Keep your benefits, keep your 401k and just move. And I've had that happen. Yes. People move to Kentucky with Aspen and then come back with, I was actually in New Mexico. And I know there's an assistant in Casa Grande who I saw out in Chandler. He moved to Chandler. So yeah, there's definitely plenty of offices and growing. That's the really exciting part. And that's something I never understood. People would say when I was younger, you want to work at a growth business or a growing business. And I didn't know what that meant or why that would affect me. But it's because as the places grow, the opportunity for the people working there grows. And I'm one of those people, I have to see it. I don't learn from reading. So I really saw it at Aspen. I'm like, oh, we're growing. So these people are starting out as, maybe doing this or that. And then they're moving up into other roles as well. So it's a really cool thing to see. We've been at it 20 years, but the interesting part, and I don't know if everyone knows this, but Brianna, who owns the offices?
The doctors.
Yeah. Yeah. We are doctor owned. I know a lot of time people think of Aspen because it's a brand name. They think that it's owned by, I don't know, some big corporate guy, but it's a dentist that you see regularly. Allie, you see your owner, I'm sure. How often do you see Dr. Lee?
Oh, not enough anymore, but yeah. And what's nice is I started with her as her lead dental assistant before, and she took over and we just grew together. You build bonds with the people that you work with, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Bree, how often do you see your owner or partial owner?
Probably about once a month, actually.
Once a month. And then you've got a
yeah.
partial owner too, right? That you see every day.
Yep. Dr. Stick is working on that.
I
and
thought he
even
was
on the
already
west
there.
side, it was kind of the same with me and Dr. Oh yeah, almost. But even on the west side, when I started with Dr. Mather, he was at the Mesa River or Mesa Super location, and then he bought into Bell, and that's where I started. So kind of have grown up as well. And
Oh
then I
my
came
gosh,
to
that
Dr.
takes me back. He
Sung
was a
and Dr.
baby
Sung
back
and Dr.
then.
Mather. Went to college together. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you see him all the time.
You do.
It's great.
They're awesome people. They're not like,
Yeah.
they're really down to earth
Yeah.
people, all of them. It's really cool. I'm reading another question here.
Absolutely.
Do you have an opinion or thought on doing orthodontics? So maybe speak to the Invisalign and referrals.
So Invisalign is huge. And go for it.
No, you go. You have it.
Go for it.
So when we rolled out Invisalign last January in 2019, it was huge because ortho was kind of the only thing that Aspen hadn't kind of dipped their toes into yet. So we had a great conference. We all went down and learned everything and anything there is about Invisalign. And even though we don't do traditional brackets, there's not a whole lot of cases that can't be done with Invisalign. I had wanted to do ortho my entire life, but I was like, I'm not going to pay for it. I'm an adult. I didn't want to do metal brackets. So when we actually rolled out Invisalign, I had waited a couple months just to see how the cases went, how the progress was. And I actually ended up doing it, and I love it. The process is super simple. You don't have to go through millions of impressions to get your brackets and all your rubber bands and all that stuff. The pain is so minimal. It's not even pain, it's discomfort. And our pricing is so competitive with anywhere you go that it makes it easy for our patients to be able to afford to get orthodontics and get that smile that they've been wanting for so long. And we do have a lot of patients that are adults that get it. And it's just so much more aesthetically pleasing. You don't have to have these metal brackets in there, and you just have these clear liners. And I had patients all the time that didn't even know I had them until I pointed it out. And we have boomed into orthodontics, and every office has their iTero scanner, and it's so easy, and it's just changing people's lives. And we're one of the top leaders in Invisalign now, with however many offices, like Allie said, 800 and growing. And it's just something that we're consistently doing, and patients are coming to us, and it's just so much more, like I said, aesthetically pleasing. And we can take care of the finances and get patients into this where they're not having to spend $8,000 on orthodontics and be in them for 2 years. Invisalign is very expedited, but in a way that it's safe. It's not like it's a little different than the Smile Direct Club and things like that you see on TV. You have a doctor and a clinician that's watching every little thing that happens. And if we need to refine something, we can take care of that. So having Invisalign has been tremendously just amazing since we've opened up, and it's only been, almost 2 years now that we've rolled it out. And it's insane how it's grown, and the opportunities we present for people and can get their occlusion where it needs to be, to where we can avoid getting crowns and things like that. So there's a lot of benefits to Invisalign and having that scanner in our office to be able to show our patients before and afters, and really get them excited about getting their teeth straightened and helping with perio. I mean, there's so many advantages to it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice to see it be affordable for adults as well. Allie, anything to add on ortho and your thoughts there?
Absolutely.
I think Bree hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think what Aspen does right about Invisalign is, along with all the other things that we do, is that we lead by the health part of it. Invisalign is just a perk with cosmetic, for sure. But we educate our patients. We do our research before we roll anything out, and we do it in a safe manner, like Bree said. And so when we rolled this out, it was something different for Aspen, definitely. But everybody believed in it because it was the right thing for them. we knew how to talk to our patients about it and really teach them that, hey, yeah, we can get your teeth aligned and get them cosmetically, you know, where they need to be, but also going over all the other benefits that came with ortho and Invisalign. Like Bree said, you know, your gum health, preventing future fractures, and needing crowns, or correcting or aligning your bite so that, you know, you're not grinding and things like that too. I mean, the list goes on and on. We're not just saying, you know, cosmetically, would you like this? We're really talking to our patients and they understand it,
right.
you know?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And to speak to that, it looks like the question goes into a little, they're asking another question. It looks like they're traveling for an orthodontic externship and they're saying, is it worth the travel or is it very exhausting? That's kind of a tough one. That's a tough one to answer. It's kind of a personal, I think, opinion there. But I think what they're asking is they're looking at, finding out if they want to do a specific, I guess, what would you call it, specialty, and is it worth the travel? That's your personal opinion. I have nothing to add there because I've never done an externship there.
I would say any experience you get, you should try to take something from it. And then really, like you said, it's personal preference if it's right for you or not. You know, anything I've ever done in my life, whether it turned out being something long-term or short-term, I've tried to take something positive from it and grow, you know? So I think it can add to your resume, your skills, but don't limit yourself. I think the more you explore personally and learn, it's only going to help grow you as a person and make you more versatile in the dental world.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good answer. Bree, what do you think? Would you, how do you feel about a long travel to do, to extern and orthodontics?
Like Allie said, I think anything is beneficial. I traveled with the oral surgeon for 2.5 years, on and off. And I traveled when I started with Aspen as a float. So I think that it's very beneficial, especially if you're getting to see different offices, whether you're just focusing on ortho that day, or if you're actually getting to kind of observe the office itself. Everybody does stuff differently. And I think it, like Allie said, it's a personal preference. I definitely enjoyed it. I got something out of it. It definitely makes you not take for granted being in one office every day, because traveling can get tiring. But I think it's definitely beneficial to have that and to see different things that different practices do. So yeah, just take what you can from it and put that into whatever you decide to do next.
Yeah, I think you're both saying kind of similar things, which is an experience, whether it's positive or negative, tells you something about yourself. So you'll know an externship isn't a lifelong commitment necessarily. So you'll know whether or not travel is for you, and you might learn whether or not ortho or oral surgery is for you. So I'd say the more experience you can get, the better.
You never unless you try.
Yeah, never hurts. Yeah, right. But it's kind of neat with us because you get
absolutely.
a lot of it, but you will get a different experience when you're doing ortho all day versus everything all day like you do with us. So, it might be something worth exploring for the right person. Try anything once, right?
Exactly.
Did either of you ever work in ortho by chance? No.
I did not.
I did Invisalign at a general practice that I worked for, but I never worked for a specialist, other than like I did travel a little bit like oral surgery, like Bree too, for a private office. But I've always worked for doctors that did multiple different things and different doctors. And I also tried to always learn from every doctor does things differently. So it's the same, but different. So anywhere I went, I just tried to pull as much as information as I could and learn, so.
I like that. That's some really, really solid advice. So we've got a question here. How is your hiring process? And then I'm gonna read the whole follow-up. Did you feel intimidated during your interview? And what are your interviewing tips? Ooh, that's a toughie. I think you always feel intimidated during an interview, no matter where you are. But that's just So let's start with you, Allie. What's the interviewing process like? And then when you interviewed your first time, did you feel intimidated? And what were some tips that you had for people who are interviewing?
Okay, so we'll break it up here. So the first part, can you read the first question again?
Yeah. What's our hiring process?
Sure. So with dental assistants, it's a little different with Aspen. We don't necessarily do a working interview, but we can have you come in and shadow. We love externs because we can kind of build and see, you know, your personality. Do you fit in with the team? And, you know, are you driven? And then that's why I say treat it like a job interview, because if there's an opportunity, we're looking at our externs as somebody. But if we're doing just, you know, looking through resumes and things like that, we're definitely looking at how your resume is built, your experience, your job history. All of those things are super important. So just keep that in mind when you're building your resume, because that's going to help, you know, pull you, make you stand out compared to others, right? Once you've been screened as a candidate, we would set up either, you know, like a phone screening, or have you come in and then maybe do a formal interview, meet with the team. We do call to see, you know, background checks as well as just, you know, previous work experience. And we really want to just know what your weaknesses are. Are you ready for those questions? You know, they're going to have those weird questions. So be ready to just, you know, answer those questions, you know, as far as we're not perfect. It's okay to say that you're not perfect. You know, what can you work on? What areas of opportunity do you have? What do you like about dentistry? What are your career goals? We want somebody that's going to be long-term with our organization. And you may not know right away, like, that you want to be an office manager. When they ask, like, if you asked me, like, where I'm at now, like 5 years ago, like, there's no way, like, when they did my job, I would be like, you're kidding. I hate the front. That's never going up there. That's a whole nother world. I'm going to stay clinically in the back, do my thing. They like me back here. I don't want to deal with insurances. But to see where I'm at now, it's completely night and day. So you grow as a person too. So I would just say, with that process, keep that an open mind, and be honest with yourself in the interview, and not intimidated. We want somebody with personality that's going to fit in with our team. So I think that kind of answers the question about the interview process. If you pass the background check and all of that, and you're a good fit, really from there, it's just kind of showing that drive and wanting to continuously learn and work with your providers, having a good relationship with your doctors and your team. The second question, Emily?
Yes. What are your tips? What would you tell someone? And did you feel intimidated when you interviewed?
Sure. Okay. Tips, like I said, I would just be, you know, yourself, be, you know, showing that you want this job. What I look at when I see, like, my externs, do they have a notepad and they're taking notes? Are they asking questions? Are they driven, or are they just standing there in the corner looking at their phone with their hands in their pockets? You know, we're looking at every little thing that you do. You are under a microscope, but not in a bad way. But we're like, are you a good fit? You know, are you stocking rooms when you know, we're slow, or are you standing around waiting to be told? We want somebody that's going to show drive and want to jump in there and you know, dental assisting is one of those weird things where you are solo, but you have to be able to work with a team too. So it's a diverse thing, I think. You have to be able to just know to, like, jump into a room and help, you know, without being told, but then also being able to work with your team at the same time to know that, right? So I didn't ever feel intimidated during my interview process. I felt it was very genuine. I felt a sense of calm in my interview, which was interesting. Normally interviews can be very intimidating, but it was just the I actually interviewed with Valcostas in April. So it was different back then. Our office wasn't built yet. We went to a hotel to do my interview. You know, when you're in your interview process, make sure you look professional, of course. Don't be chewing gum or, you know, all of those little tiny tips for any interview process. But I went into it very genuine and what I was looking for and what my skills were and what I wanted, you know, and just be ready for any question and again, be genuine. So
I like that. Bree, what advice would you have for someone interviewing?
I think Allie pretty much covered that. I would just say, yeah, be very professional, be open and honest with us. We know, especially if you're coming out of externship or coming into an externship, you're not perfect. There's things you still need to work on. I always like to ask, you know, what can we do to help you get to that next level? Whether we're going to hire you or not, I want to know what your, like Allie said, what your goals are. Because like both of us, I too wouldn't have ever thought about being a manager. But now with so many areas of opportunity, I want to know that you want to stay long-term. I want you to grow with the company. You know, we want to have our bench on deck for, you know, promotions and things like that. That's something we're very adamant about. So we want to be able to help you too. So giving us that information helps us grow you into the employee you want to be, the teammate that we need you to be, because it's not a one-man show. Like Allie said, yeah, sometimes you're by yourself, but you got to show initiative and be proactive about, you know, not only the office and the job you're currently doing, but where you want to go. There's so many different departments, whether you're traveling with endo or oral surgery, or, you know, you're just afloat or you want to move into the front. Those are all transitional roles, and we want to know that you're ready to do that and take on more responsibility. I always used to say it was my dirty little secret that I knew how to do insurances in the front, because I would only do it at select locations when I was traveling and to get extra hours. So I was like, you know, I would tell offices, oh, don't tell I'll help you with the insurances, but don't tell everybody, you know. But eventually you get to the point where you want to do those things more. And get experience. So we just want you to be open and honest with us. It shouldn't be a scary thing. I also did my interview with Val when she was a regional manager. And it was just exciting because Val just brought this energy into the interview, and we just had such a good time. And I had already done my externship, so I kind of knew the process of Aspen. So I was really excited to get that call and to be brought in and say, you know, this is your schedule. Can you do this? And, you know, this is what we expect from you, because we do want to set those expectations. Like Allie said, you know, we want you to take that initiative to do things when we have downtime, especially if you're in a newer location. It takes time to build up. Like my practice now, you know, we have training modules, whether it's stuff to do in the back or the front. We have all of these, you know, learning and development too, that we can get you doing in the downtime, and stocking and learning how to do ordering and going to the leads and saying, hey, what can I do to make your day better? Or asking doc, hey, I'm really struggling with temporaries, you know, can you help me with that? So just taking that initiative and wanting to know where your career will go. Because when I got hired, I didn't know that. I had no idea. So I just kind of with it and got a job, and I knew I would have those hours. But looking back, I wish I had known sooner, because yeah, I would have moved up sooner instead of waiting 7 years. But it's just important to know where you want to go, and we want to help you get there. So yeah.
I agree. That's, you know, the goal is to get everybody where they want to be and where their skills meet. I will share a few things just because I just happen to be writing something on it. So for your interviews, I always get intimidated. It doesn't matter if I know the people. I'm always nervous because I can't stand to lose, right? I came here to win. I want the job, right? One thing that I do is I really like have a mantra that I tell myself, like, I am going to get this. I am going to get this. And this is going to sound crazy, but not in the parking lot, but on the way there, just to kind of let out energy. I like put on my favorite song. I sing really loud just because I want to be in a good mood when I get in there. So those are some things.
Don't mess up your hair before the interview. You're like,
calm down. You know, I do that too. You're like, she's not lying. That's the God honest truth. And then I would also say, think about transferable skills that you have. So think about what you might have done, even if you worked at Papa John's or wherever. There were, you know, it's great that you made dough, but if you can think about the communication skills that might transfer to patients, that you answered phones, that you worked, you know, on a tight schedule, or were really good with time management. Those are things that you'd want to share, not necessarily the exact thing that you're doing, which is sometimes what people want to share. Like, I made pizza, I answered the phone. Think about those transferable skills that you have that can transfer into dental assisting from jobs that you may not think relate. And people are always impressed if you came in somewhere and maybe you started at a restaurant and now you manage the wait staff. We're impressed that someone else thought that you are going to start here, and we want you to do more. So if you can show that growth, that's something we want to know about, even if it's not something in the dental field. And then we also want to know if you did something for a very long time. So if you've been working at the same flower shop since middle school, which would be illegal, so since you were 16, we want to know about that, because that says that, you know, I can't imagine every day at work was wonderful. And we want to know that someone will last through the whole thing. So that's another thing that I would say is, if you've been somewhere a while, share that with us, make that bright and big, and think of some stories of how you maybe overcame obstacles while you were there. That being said, one thing that I always see that I'm like, oh, please don't go there. No matter what happened at your previous job, no matter how bad it was, please don't talk bad about other people on the interview. You'll never win. Even if you're right, it will never look good when you speak poorly of like a former coworker or manager. And we've all seen it, and it just never comes off right. It lowers the vibe of the interview. Yeah. So that's just a little advice that I would give. That's my personal advice. But, and I do get nervous. I get nervous every time, but I try to transition that into positive nervous energy, opposed to like manic nervous energy. So we're rounding up here. So I want you to share with me one thing that you learned in school. I know I'm taking Allie and Bree way back, that you use to this day. Allie's like, oh my gosh, I'll give you a second to think about it. One thing.
Yeah, give me a minute.
Cool, that you use to this day. I'm trying to think of.
I mean, clinically,
I don't assist anymore.
It could be anything. It could be communication. It could be anything.
Yeah. But actually, I mean, I know we're not allowed to like clinically diagnose x-rays or anything like that, but I do on a daily basis, having that dental knowledge, use it to this day in my consultations, you know, my dental verbiage, knowledge, all of that helped play a role in me being able to articulate and speak to the patients in a confident manner. So, you know, I may not be able to grab the doctor right away or something like that, but I can at least talk to the patient with confidence and pull up the x-ray or, you know, the information, and without diagnosing or anything like that, I can still talk to my patients confidently, with my dental knowledge. So
I love that. You can always use that. What about you, Bree? One thing that you learned in school that you've taken with you to this day?
I think that obviously what Allie said, you know, we do have that advantage. Not that we're diagnosing, but we can see that doctor said, you know, this needs a root canal and a crown. And if a patient has a question on it, you know, we're able to explain and bring up the x-rays and just reiterate what the doctor said, especially if we're in the consult already, we've heard what they have to say. But also just to relate to the patient, have that compassion and the empathy, let them know, you know, we understand, you know, what's going on and the severity of the situation, and that we understand and we can help them get the care that they need. Just have that empathy, because in the back, it's very scary. You know, I've held hands, I've had patients cry, you know, and you just have to relate and bring yourself down to their level and let them know it's going to be okay. We're going to get you through this, you know, and just be able to explain the procedure too when we're doing our consults. You know, when we're doing, you know, if a patient's taking a medication to relax before the appointment, we have to do those consent forms beforehand, and we can actually explain what we're reading and how the process is going to work because we have that knowledge from back then. So it just really helps with our consults specifically, because we do know, you know, how the procedure is going to go, how patients typically react. what the turnaround time is, you know, how the anesthetic works, what they're using. So I think just having that terminology and having that empathy with patients, it's definitely beneficial, and you always keep that. So
I love that. Oh, I'm not hearing you, Allie.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Bree, like, I'm sure you're like me where, you know, I do miss assisting sometimes, and I am a team player. Like, I will definitely, like, if my dental assistants are busy, like, that's one thing that's different about Aspen too. There's where we all help each other, and I'll flip a room and set up the procedure and seat the patient and do as much as I possibly can, or still suction if they'll let me go in there. You know, I'm like, I'll take the x-rays, I'll do it. But they're like, no, you're the office manager. I'm like, no, it's okay. Like, I want to. I'll take the
especially when we're understaffed, you know, we don't have a full staff. I mean, I think like 2 weeks ago, I did a full FMX, and then I did a new patient, you know, because we were down, and I was like, well, I obviously don't have a patient because my patient needs an x-ray. So, you know, it's nice that we can still jump in. You keep your skills fresh. I mean, it's obviously not all the time. And I just kind of play it off, and I bring the patient back and say, oh, you're getting the VIP treatment today. I'm the office manager. I'm going to take your x-rays for you. You know, and then we'll circle back and we'll talk about the finances and stuff. So yeah, I think it's definitely beneficial with that too. It's fun to do too. You know, I do miss it, and especially coming from oral surgery. Like, I miss doing surgeries, and the girls the other day, they were like, oh, it's going to be a long one. And I was like, I'll do it. It's fine. And doctor's like, no, you got to stay in your consults. I'm like, okay.
It is a wonderful career. I think DAs are really the heart of any dental practice. Lots of empathy, lots of knowledge, lots of heart. You're the one holding the patient's hand. If they're scared, you're the voice of reason. It's a wonderful, wonderful career for like that empathetic person that loves people.
Yeah, it's very rewarding, and we have patients that, you know, we see this every day when, you know, we have a denture case that they're getting their smile back. We see it every single day, but it's the first time that patient particularly is seeing their smile again for something they haven't seen in 20 years. I mean, even my own mom, she had fluorosis extremely bad, and we did full mouth crowns on her, and she is just a completely different person. And it's very rewarding to be a dental assistant, and then to move into the front to where you can financially help, you know, and trust your team to deliver the rest of the way. So it's very rewarding.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, you guys, it is right at 8 o'clock. So I'll be kind with your time, because I know you guys have put in a full day too. So I really appreciate it. And students, if you have any questions, I know your advisors have my email. Feel free to email me. I know these two, I can get any message to them. And I'm sure they'd be happy to help you with anything that you have. So if you know, midnight, think of a question, or if you are curious about their offices, you know, send us a note. We'll be happy to get any questions answered for you. So thank you guys so much. It's been a real joy. I miss seeing you guys every day.
I know, it's so different without you.
Well, tell the teams I said hi, and hopefully we'll get to do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.